Hey, it's Sarah Burke here from the Women in Media podcast. And before we get started on a new episode, could I get you to hit like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell, whichever app you do your podcast listening in. Make sure you're all set up so you know when there's a new episode and you can help spread the word. Oh, and if you're so inclined, could I ask you to leave a review if the app that you're using does that? You're the best. All right, let's get to the show. I'm Sarah Burke, and this is the Women in Media podcast. If you're new here, I'm exploring what it's like to go through both triumphs and setbacks in the media spotlight. And I certainly can't imagine what that would be like as an Olympic athlete.
It became less about do what you've been doing for 15 years and more about I'm going to disappoint people. That's what was really hard for me, and I only really felt that post-concussion. I had the angel, which was protecting me and say, you need to take a break, and that devil saying, you're not good enough, you're not this, but I was almost feeding the devil more than I was feeding the angel, and so it became a lot louder in my head. If I were to have pulled out and not competed at the Olympics, I would be sitting here today wondering what if.
My guest today is the Canadian record holder for the women's pole vault, track and field star and two-time Olympian, Alysha Newman, who's finally relaxing in the off-season after Tokyo 2020.
Literally, that's why I'm in my robe.
It's like we're having our morning coffee together. I love
know,
this.
Isn't that so cute?
Well, cheers, and thank you for finding a little bit of time to come on the podcast, because I assume that, coming off of Tokyo, you needed a little downtime. How's the last few weeks been like decompressing from everything?
Yeah, it's shocking because you feel like, okay, like obviously my Olympics didn't go as planned. So I was more so, okay, I'll be fine. Like I'll still work out and do my off season and do what I need to do and heal and get better, whatever. But then all of a sudden it was just like, felt like a train like hit me. I was just like so exhausted, and I was so like I would sleep for 12 hours and wake up and then feel like I needed to take a 2-hour nap during the day. It was just a lot. So it's funny that like your body goes in this pilot mode when you have these goals and dreams. And, the older you get, obviously, the more you have to be aware of, putting so much time and effort because you're getting older. So it's maybe my age, I'm 27 now, not that I'm old, but getting older and just really making sure I'm taking care of my body because it might need a little more attention than I'm usually ready to give it. Well,
even when you say healing, like, let's be real, there's some mental healing that has to go on too, with everything that you just put yourself through. So, I wanted to bring up that post that you put out on August 3rd. I just thought you handled it so well. Yes, you didn't have the best Olympics of your life, but you were really real with your fans and with your audience on social media. And I guess talk to me about all that pressure, but still finding a way to say, this is not defining my career.
Yeah, I think I really needed to take at least 2 days. I really took a deep breath on saying what am I really upset about? And injury after injury after injury. And yes, they say, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, which I did. And I went all the way to the Olympics. But by the time I stood up that 8th time, I was exhausted. And I was so exhausted from healing and my body telling me I need a minute, that I really was like, no, too bad. The Olympics are not going to postpone for you. You have to go. You have to do what you need to do. And as soon as I got there, it was just a full meltdown, breakdown. Everything was just I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And my coach would be like, you just slept, we just did all these things and you're fine, and you look great running, you look like the best physical. And I'm like, I know, but it almost felt like we talk about when I used to be a gymnast, it's called the twisties, and actually Simone Biles talked about this in her post. It was the same thing for me as in track though. It was my head, from my shoulders up, I couldn't picture or see what I was doing. I couldn't visualize, everything was just monotone and numb. But from the chin down, I was running my fastest speed I've ever run. I was breaking my PRs in all my lifting events and all my running workouts. And so when you see that as a coach, but you can't see it internally, you're confused. And so we were all thrown off. We were all like, what is going on? So I think when I sat down and I revisited, it was that mental aspect of it. My head just really needed a break. It really needed to step away, not just from track and field, but from these goals I set for myself every year, this pressure I put on myself every year. So that's kind of I wanted people to realize, I mean, again, I'm a motivator. I want to inspire people to go after their goals. So for me, it was very much transparency makes you feel so much better too. Like that way you don't have to answer to people like, oh, you should stay off social media, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do this. It's like, no, social didn't do that to me. I was exhausted. It was just, I was tired, and I'm human. So it's really cool to be able to be that vulnerable and that, I guess, transparent to my fans, because then people are like, oh shit, this is really what was going on. So at the end of the day, it's for everyone to see, you know?
Yeah. I think the part that stood out to me, you know, about your post, and I actually like threw a little quote down here that I wanted to say. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. You could look at my 2021 year and say I hit rock bottom in my pole vaulting career, or you could say, damn, Alysha, look at the mountains, obstacles, and shit you put up with. So for any of you know, your fans who may not know like what you actually went through with injury and otherwise, how did the year leading up to Tokyo actually look?
It was a mess. Like it was a complete surprise after surprise. From, again, it was mostly injury, but then I had little things that have never happened in my pole vaulting, like breaking poles and all these other things. Like it was so like, you know, when you put all your eggs in one basket and then the basket gets really, really heavy, that's what happened. And my eggs started falling out because I had too many eggs in my basket. And that's what I was doing. I was getting up, focusing on track and putting everything to track, that once it went wrong, it was a freak out, you know, it was a meltdown, because it was like, oh my God, like the Olympics are coming up, and it just became less about do what you've been doing for 15 years and more about my whole mental switch. It was more about, I'm going to disappoint people. That's what was really hard for me. And I only really felt that post concussion, but I've never had a concussion this severe before. And when I sat there and I was sitting with my neurologist and we were talking about it, and I was telling her the things I was feeling, and I was like, this is not my norm self. Like there's no way that happened in 3 months. I changed from wanting to be a gold medalist and a world record holder to wanting to spend time on the beach for weeks on end, you know, like that's not normal. And so that's what was really, really tough for me, because I had, you could say like that angel and devil on your shoulder. I had the angel, which was protecting me and say, you need to take a break, and that devil saying, you're not good enough, you're not this. But I was almost feeding the devil more than I was feeding the angel, and so it became a lot louder in my head. And again, you know, my neurologist like really sat down and told me, listen, this is not you. This is what happens when you disrupt your pathways and your nervous system, and everything's changed. And so it was mind-blowing, because not only was I healing from ankle injuries, I fell off a scooter and landed on my hip, and
of all things, a scooter.
Oh my God. We were just a bunch of pole vaulters. We were out after a competition, and we took those birds out in Europe, and we were out for 2 hours, and we weren't drinking, none of that. We were all just having a great time. And literally 5 minutes from the hotel, there was this like construction pylon, but I didn't see the like where the pylon was actually going over a bigger hole. And I went like onto the main road, and I hit it, and I went flying like 40 feet. And because those scooters go so fast and you don't realize it.
And also, for the record, you're talking to a gal who has injured her ankles since grade 11 over and over and over again. I used to competitive dance, and like I did it this summer, like almost the part that I'm so intrigued with like how you recover from injury. It's almost like I'm not competing in any Olympics or anything, and I'm not training for anything. Like I'm just going to the gym, to the gym to go to the gym. And when I injure my ankle again, I am so mad at myself. I feel like that 2 months ahead of like recovering and like all the physio and all the things, I get so down, and I don't even have this massive goal in front of me. So I can't even imagine.
But it's a different goal too, right? Your goal is to stay healthy and in shape. And when something disrupts you, it's like, shit, like I got to reanalyze this. I got to get healthy. And I don't ever feel like you go backwards, because your body actually gets a lot stronger, which is really, really cool that the human body can do that. It's going to take its time to get back. And that's what was really hard, because that quote was, I hit rock bottom, or look at everything I went through. That was my angel and devil, because the devil was like, you suck, you hit rock bottom, you should never pole vault again. And then that angel was like, no, 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 no. Look at all the incredible things you went through and you're still here. And that's where I put those two together, because people are hard on you, especially when you're in the public eye. People are so tough and so hard on you.
That's a big part of this podcast is, watching what women go through in the spotlight. And there's lots of victory, but there's lots of setbacks. And, you mentioned Simone and her experience in the Olympics. And what was going through your head when you were following that storyline?
You know what? And then obviously I'm like the realest person you'll ever meet. Is the entire time I was like, I get her. I get it. And it was one of those situations where you're sitting and you're at training and you're reading this and you're like, I can't read this because I am so with her. Like, I'm in this position too. So I was like, I almost had to not read it, because I almost was like, I should pull out, because I also feel like there's more to life than just what I'm doing. And it's okay. And I kept saying that to myself. It's okay that you're not ready for this Olympics. It's okay. But the passionate, the go-getter Alysha, the girl that's a lioness that's out on the track and, is out there to claim her victory, had that side too. And it's like, how do you not try till that last second of failing? Do you know what I'm saying? So if I were to have pulled out and not competed at the Olympics, I would be sitting here today wondering what if. And so I always talk about that. I said, I'd much rather go on a national television and embarrass myself like I did at the Olympics than me have pulled out and said, and it's different. Like, what she does is very, very high technical, and it's a different event. It's just personally, I wouldn't be able to live with not knowing if maybe that day it clicked for me. And I think that that's what was really cool about her opening up about that, is it's way more strong for her to step away than to actually compete, because we already know she's one of the best, and that will never, ever go away. And I think that that's what was the takeout for me for her. It was, I don't care that you compete. Look at what you do. Like, look at who you are. And she's a role model. She's one of the best athletes and female athletes you'll ever see.
So how did you mentally prepare to still compete at that level when you were teetering on the edge of maybe pulling out?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, what does the day-to-day, in Olympic Village look like when you're trying to keep it together?
I think that that's the best part, is you're with people and your teammates that are going either through the same thing or are so positive and so ready to compete. So you're very actually almost thankful that you're surrounded with these great of athletes, because you never walk into an environment where not any of the athletes at the Olympic Village think they're going to lose. And so imagine being surrounded by that for 16 days. You just feel invincible. You feel like a superhero. So for me, it was really focusing again, trying not to feed that devil side that was trying to be so negative about who I am and what I was, and that my sport represented who I was. And I really stuck around and hung around with positive, uplifting, and people that looked at me more than just an athlete. And that's a lot of my teammates, because we're all in the same position. So I think for me, it was really keeping myself distracted, keep going in the normal routine that, you wake up, you have your breakfast, you meet up with all your other track friends and pole vaulters. Then we all go to the track together. We do our workouts. And at this point, you're not doing really crazy workouts anyways. You're more I guess you're tapering off is what we call it. And so
keeping
you're
just the muscles warm and
exactly and activated. So at this point now, and I'm so happy, I was able to enjoy every day that I was there. Before, it's I don't want to be out in the sun too long, or I don't want to do this. And this time it was very much, let me go do what I love to do. And that's what I kept reminding myself, is I love being here. And there's not a day that if I'm not at a track, even right now, it's shoot, I feel like I need to be at my track, because it's just it's more than a sport for me. It's my let go. It's my, my peace of mind. It's something that challenges me every single day. And it's this crazy little event, and that's why I keep going back to it. So I think what I did is I went back to my roots on like right from the beginning and surrounding myself with the people that wanted to see me do great, even though we all had, we all said we needed a miracle that day, and it wasn't my miracle, and that's okay.
I've heard you kind of say that might be your last Olympics, and whether it's professional golf, or I even heard you say something about like broadcasting career, which, girl, we can talk about that.
Yeah, right.
How does the unwind look right now?
Yeah. So for me, obviously I'm an athlete and I don't want to end my career on what happened in 2021. I don't think it would ever settle with me. Don't think I'd be the best mother. I don't think I'd be the best friend, sister, daughter if I said, you know what, I'm done pole vaulting, I'm moving on, and I'm going to enjoy my life and I'm going to do other things. So I know deep down in the back of my head, I'm going to be going back, and I need to make that statement for myself, not for anyone else, but for myself. But again, I'm in actually cognitive therapy right now. So it's about a 6-week program. And what it is I'm working really close with my neurologist, and we meet every other day. And it's something that I wish someone came to me right from the beginning and said, you need to be a lot more kind to yourself, because I put way too much pressure on my head to heal faster than it needed to. So that is like my number one thing, because I don't want to heal my head for pole vault. I need to heal my head because I'm 27 years old and I still have the rest of my life to live. So it's really important for me that I can get my motivation back, being thankful to wake up every morning, right? Because some people don't. And that's where I think we take that for granted. So I'm working really close with that. So that's kind of my off season, which is not normal. Usually we rest and then I don't talk to any of my coaches. I'm like, you guys go away, I go away, but I'm in this therapy. So it'll be 6 weeks long. And then I'm really, social media and being, I guess you could say, I call myself an inspirational influencer.
Hell yeah.
Is something that I am so thankful I have. Because when I was at the lowest of my lows on the track last year, I was doing so well on social, and it was companies were feeding off of my positivity. And so I think for me in my off season, it's almost like we restructure. What is this going to be this year? What do you want to look like? What do you want to do? What do you want to do different? And so it's really exciting for me, because this is where my creative side comes in as a human, as Alysha Newman. And I get so excited when I talk to companies, and these are the goals. I want to work with these 6 companies this year. I like what they stand for. Here's why. So we do kind of stuff like that off the track too. And then a lot of downtime. So I'm going to Aruba for 2 weeks with my best friend. So we're going to go down there and we're going to relax and kind of just fall off the face of the earth for a little bit. A time to step away from being so intense and having your heart rate higher than 170 every day.
Such a good way to put it.
That's literally what I tell people. I was like, my heart rate hasn't reached above 170 in like 2 weeks, and holy moly, I just feel so good. And I saw the quote of, it was that post on the letter to my Olympians. I just posted that yesterday. And it's so cool the way Brooke put it. And she put it as, take off the stopwatch, take off the goals, that guilt, like let it go, because some days I'll be like sitting watching Netflix till like 1 PM, and I'm like, shoot, like I didn't accomplish anything today. And to have that mental go every single day, all year, it's exhausting and it's not okay. So stepping away and tuning back into your body, I think that is something I've never really done. And that's what I'm really looking forward to.
So you mentioned working with brands and how you had a few brands that like really spoke to you and aligned with your values.
Yeah. So I mean, from the beginning of me working with companies, I used to take everything because I was like, money, I need money, because like we're track athletes. We don't make money to, live post track, we make it just enough so that we can keep training and not having a job. For me, I want to build an empire is what I call it, for my family, for my children. Like I want to be well connected. I want my kids to have the best opportunities, and I want people around me, my family and my friends, to have the best opportunities too. So I think when we used to start, I used to just get so excited and I did everything. And I had this cute little gold, silver, and bronze packaging, and I would send it to the company and I would say, hey, listen, this is what you get in the gold, silver, and bronze. You pick, and that way they have options. And I always was so good. And I don't know if it's my mom that raised me this way, but they don't need you as much as you need them. And that's from that get-go of me learning that, and learning it's a business, and learning to be unique and to be different, is what really brought me to that next level of social media, is because I'm on every single first call with every new client, even if we don't sign with them, because I need them to see who I am and what I'm passionate about. Because again, social, we only see the bare minimum. We see maybe 20% of what I actually am and what I really want to do with my life, post track and everything. And I think that was really important to me, because I really wanted to nobody will represent themselves better than me. And I've been told that. And when you are told that you're good at one thing, you want to keep doing that. And so now when I sit down and I talk to companies and I'm with companies, a big thing for me is longevity. I don't want to do a one-off post. I'm not very, making that money for a one-off post is nice, but I want to build something. And if there's one thing I've learned in track and field, is commitment, consistency, and longevity is what's made me who I am today and made me one of the best pole vaulters in the world. And so if I can do that with a company, maybe one post won't do well, and that happens, and because it doesn't attract or appeal to some people. But that's why failures are so important, is because if something doesn't work, then you can go back and do that. And so that's what I kind of approach to these companies, is I want to be a multiple post with you guys. And it's not because I want you guys to give me all your money, but it's more because let's see what works for your brand, and not because just as you guys are learning, I'm learning too. And so let's learn and win together. And I think a lot of people appreciate that. And a lot of people see where I come from on that point, and they value that. And they're like, okay, she's not just in this for the money. Because again, like, of course I need money, and I need that to survive and to live and to be a human. But I also am so, how can you say, I'm so content and I'm so happy when a company comes back or someone says, that inspired me, or that was such a cool idea. Like, I get so excited when I hear stuff like that, or companies email me, that was the best photo shoot we've ever been a part of. Thank you for being you. Like, that's what makes me reassure that I'm doing things right. And I think that that's kind of what I've turned my social to, is working with people that want to work with me, that want to be great and want to go to that next level and not just be a quick ad.
Yeah. So tell me about a brand partnership experience you've had where you have felt as though your transparency has been super appreciated.
Yeah, like Cadillac. Oh my gosh. Like, it is so fun for me to go to my dealership, because Roy Foss is just so intrigued in my ideas, and they're so excited and they're one of the only companies. I actually had a whiteboard in my room. I was so thankful that they wanted to support me and still support me post Olympics because of the situation. And when you see that, you want to work harder. They were just so good on set. And the photos I wanted to take, I didn't want to be standing in front of a car. I wanted to be, tying my shoe on the back of the car, or like, I got a driver with the Escalade, so they're going to open the thing and he has a nice cute top hat. And so they really were open to that idea and risking my lioness sexy side, and they enjoyed it. And they were like, this is amazing. I've just always been very, very thankful about them, because they've introduced me to some incredible people too. Right. And I see business in a different way with them too. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, rewind a little bit. Go back to one of your first brand partnerships, or like signing with Nike, or something like that. Like, I want to hear about a moment where you were like, what, me? Like early on.
Yeah, I would say, oh my gosh. I would say Nike was one of my biggest first. When I finished college or university, and I got I went pro that following, like, that March, and they wanted to take me and do a whole like photo shoot and stuff. It was so exciting, but I didn't know who I was. I had followers, but I didn't have followers that college girls have now. Like, it wasn't like that for me, right? And so it was really cool for me, and that Nike took me and let me be whoever I wanted. And it was cool because at one point of the interview, they interview you and they kind of do like I guess you could say like a vocal over the video, and like I was saying something, I was like, no, I got to redo it, like this is not who I am. And they're like, oh, okay. So we restarted 3 or 4 times, and I was dying laughing because I wish I got the original 1 or 2, but I was trying to be someone that I was not. And what I was so thankful for is I caught myself right before that all happened. And I was able to really dial in and just be like this. You and I talking, it feels like I'm out for coffee with you right now, right? Yeah. And they dealt with me being like, no, reshoot, like round 6, round 7, you know? I guess I could say I was just really, really nervous. And I was really like, it has to be perfect. Everything has to be aligned, like my makeup, what I'm wearing, all this stuff. And I took so much control, you know? And so that's kind of was a reality check for me, because it ended up going like a roller coaster. I was sad, I was crying, and then I was like, okay, I'm fine. And then, you know, it was up and down. I was all over the place. And my mom was there, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, my daughter's so emotional. Like, all they wanted to do was shoot some cool video around the city and talk about like what she's accomplished, and she can't even do that. So it's like that pressure and that overthinking, right? You just are like, I just want to do so well so people are happy and excited about it. I learned right away, right off the start. It was one of the
That's
best
sort of when you realized it was like, it had gone from a hobby to a profession. Like you were
literally. And that's what was exciting for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like if you told me this 4 years ago that I could go pro and do my thing that I love the most every day and get paid for it, gosh, I would have jumped higher a lot earlier, you know?
So when did you know that you wanted to compete at this level? When did the switch happen from, you know, it just being like school track and field to like, I'm going to go for this for big time?
Yeah, I think it would have been, we call it junior year in university. So second year university. I had gone to this Pan American Games, and I broke an international record. So I had broken all the Canadian records leading up to that point, which was cool. And that's my country, and that's cool to see my name on everywhere in Canada, right? But for me to break an international, meaning that I was the best performer ever in the world. And I think that when I saw that, and I got athlete of the meet. So it was in junior Pan American Games, and I got this trophy, not just my gold medal, but I got a trophy on the best performer of the games. And I was like, this is really freaking cool. I cannot believe that my coaches saw it before me, and all I did was trust them and what I was capable of doing. And it was really amazing to see that all the hard work, the Smirnoff bottles that I poured out and filled with water, all that stuff that I did was worth it for that moment for me. And that's the best advice I've ever gotten from somebody, was my mom. And she said, parties, events, modeling, all these things will be there, but because you're an athlete, it's only going to last so long. So if this is what you want to do, you need to give it a good 20 years. And she always called it, and we had a mentor, Brian Risk, and he said it's called the 10,000 hour game. And it's putting in the 10,000 hours to get to just the beginning of being professional. And when I heard that that would have been high school level, I was completely immature and like, oh, okay, well, I'm breaking records. So what are you guys talking about, these 10,000 hours? Like, well, that's a long time. Like, no, I'm already one of the best, you know? And I had that like confidence on the track because I was, and I love that. And I think that confidence takes you to the next level. Like if you walk out into a room, a meeting, and you know, you're putting that hammer down and you're going to run that meeting, or you're going to walk out of the track and you're going to win, most likely you're going to. And for me as a child to be surrounded by that and then put into an environment in the United States where I wasn't the best. And every meet I was getting third or second place. It was hard. It was hard to a point that I needed to step my game up. And when I knew that, and I'm thankful that I got that scholarship, because I was able to be challenged week after week after week. And when you get settled, A, you kind of lose motivation, and B, you think you're good. You don't need to do any more. You're already winning. So what's the point, And that's where it really changed for me, is breaking that record, winning that trophy, and then getting my ass kicked in university every week, because I was like, damn, I'm not the best. I'm not the best yet. And that's kind of where I was like, I can do this professionally, because I don't want to be the best in college or university. I want to be the best in the world. And that's why 2019, I was third in the world. I went from 2016, 16th at the Olympics. Then the next year I was 10th at the World Championships. Then Commonwealth Games I won, but it wasn't all the countries. It's only the Commonwealth countries. So I got first there, and I was fifth in the world. And then 2019 was third. And then 2020, was supposed to come around, and that was my time, and it didn't work out, and that's okay. But it was more so, it's a phase, it's a journey. And I just kept building the blocks.
So are you telling me that you went to university not thinking that you were going to do this? Like what did the scholarship was nice, but what did you think you were going to do?
I was getting my school paid for. Like, I was the most ecstatic. My parents don't have to pay for my schooling. Like, how cool is that? Like, Mom, you're welcome.
Well, what did you want to do? What did you want to study other than, the scholarship?
I did kinesiology. So I really wanted to get into like a private practice too. I wanted to do chiro, and I wanted to do, I guess you could say, like spiritual healing. So a lot of, I do a lot of hypnotherapy right now, and a lot of intuitive into your body. And I was always very spiritual growing up. And my mom didn't know where I really got it from, more so that I found a lot of peace connecting to the earth and being grounded, and simplifying life is where I felt like I was my most successful. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to put that into practice. But then again, I started getting better and better and better at track, that it was like, oh, okay, well, I can qualify for the Olympics. And then that was the goal my graduation year. I graduated from university in 2016, and then I went right to the Olympics. But I didn't know, because in my head, it was like, the records are great, bringing home medals are great, but now I'm done university. I need to live, and I need money, and I need to work. And I come from, my dad's side is a farm family, up at 4 a.m. picking the tomatoes. One bucket is 25 cents is what he was raised upon. And that's how he raised me. I was out doing chores before school, and I was doing stuff like that. And so for me, it was a no-brainer, because I think the mentality in Canada is go to university, get your education, and then work. But then being in the States and kind of being around these, how you could say, risk takers, it was very opening to me that, oh my gosh, you can actually get by making $40,000 a year if you're doing that in track and field, right? And I started realizing that I didn't want to be stuck in a profession that was forever, that was going to I guess say that, okay, Alysha, you're going to be a chiro, or you're going to open your own practice, and you're going to literally do that for the next 40 years. Like, that gave me anxiety, because I was like, no, I don't want to be stuck in one place, and I don't want to be just known as that. Like, I want to have chapters, and I want to have books, and I want to do different things in my life. So once I knew I was in the top, and then once I won NCAAs and national championships and stuff, I really started looking into it, and looking into agents and looking all that. And they said, yeah, you could make it. And the best thing I've ever done for myself was perform at international competitions. And a lot of track athletes don't understand that, because they're like, yeah, well, you run this fast in Canada, or you jump this high in Canada. That's not what they want to see. They want to see you perform on demand, and when it's the most important, which is World Championships, Olympics, places where there's a lot of media and a lot of attention, because again, it's a business. And I was very thankful my 2016 and 2017 year, I did that. And I always have the best story for people that are first starting out is every international competition I got invited to, I brought them a little maple syrup, like the meet director. And I thanked them because I needed to do something because I still wasn't the best. And I needed to do something to A, thank them for allowing me and to paying for everything to be there. And B, I want to be reinvited to these meets. So even if I didn't perform well or jump high, I needed them to know that I still thought about them and appreciate them. Yeah. And it did so good for me because you invest into other people, you're going to get that in return, some shape, some way in life. And ever since then, I've never not been invited to an international competition. And I think that that's where you start realizing like, oh my gosh, I can be one of the best now because they're giving me these opportunities. And when you're like I said before, when you surround yourself with the best women, best males in the world, it just raises your level to the next level. And that's what I kept doing. I kept being in environments that I wasn't the best in to be the best, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally. Even like, I have a lot of musicians that I interview, and when you want to get better at songwriting, you go to Nashville, surround yourself with the best songwriters in the world. And that's how you get better at everything. What is your proudest moment? You've sort of spoken about your lows in last year, but what's your proudest moment?
That one's hard because I think when I was little, I always did, like we watched the Olympics every 2 years, the winter and summer, and I always wanted to go to the Olympics. And so that was a big title for me. But that gold medal and bringing and having a piece of metal and gold to bring home to your country saying, look, I'm not just going out and running around a track every day. Like this is hard work. Like having something, it's like you putting in 40-hour weeks and getting your paycheck, right? You're like, I put in that work, I deserve that money. Well, for me, for that Commonwealth gold medal, it was, look at all that training, the blood, sweat, and tears, and the failures. This is all like, here it is. It's right in this one piece of metal. And so that to me was really, really inspirational moment. I inspired myself, which sounds really weird, really weird, because it was like, you got to understand the top 10 women are centimeters from all being the best. Like we all jumped about the same, and it's who's better that day. And just knowing that I was able to bring that home and to see the joy on my coach's face, that their time's not wasted, because I take a lot of their time away from their families. They also have full-time jobs on the side. Mm-hmm. So it shows that we're not just, you want purpose in life. And it showed me that I had purpose to, make other people around me better. And that medal really opened doors for me to a point that my confidence was like, damn, Alysha, you really put on a show and you really showed up. And you showed up not just for yourself, you showed up for your coaches, your family, your friends, and then the country. And that's what was really, really empowering for me. That's probably the best moment.
Where are your medals in your home? Do you have them on display?
Actually, I'm renovating the basement right now, and it's going to be like a cool, like I'm putting a simulator golf in there.
Nice.
And I have a little pool table, and then I got all my like Canadian jackets, like my Olympic jackets and my uniforms that each year and each generation of my Nike uniforms. So I have it all. It's going to be all in my champion room downstairs, and then I'll have my medals and stuff hanging in there.
Oh,
so.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, so I like to wrap up this podcast asking you about some women that inspire you to come on this podcast and tell their stories. Who would you choose?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I get inspired by all the Canadian women track and field team. I think we are some very hardcore, powerful women that we have a goal and we see our side, or like what we want to accomplish. But I think what I've really, really enjoyed on social is Brianna. Ever since I've been on social, I love what she represents. I love who she is. I love that, music was one part of her life, and now she's this billionaire entrepreneur, and she uses her brand and who she is, which is very out there, but she also brings a lot of her culture to her everyday life, which is amazing because it's just who she is, right? And Naomi, the tennis player, I think she has completely shooken up the media. I think she is starting to show people what is really important, and me having these press conferences and sitting and talking to these people. Sorry, but you guys don't come first. And it's important to put people in that, I guess you could say, category, because she's out there because she loves tennis. You know, she wants to be the best tennis player. But again, she's also like, I'm human too. Like, why don't people see me as just human? And I think I really enjoyed watching her documentary and enjoyed seeing like she's figuring out who she wants to be. She's young. And so with the media and people telling her, oh, why don't you represent Japan more? Why don't you represent Jamaica more? Like, why aren't you doing all of it? And it's like, because she can't do everything and make every person happy. And it's cool for her to use her platform and remind people of that, and remind people that it's okay if I lose a game. I don't really feel like I need to go and talk about it. I'm going to go and into my locker room, I'm going to shower, and I'm going to go home, and I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to get up and do everything all over again. And that was really eye-opening, because I feel like a lot of times athletes feel like we need to entertain and do all this. But again, like, before we had social media, like, it was important for sponsorships, but now, like, I could be my own reporter if I wanted to on my social, and I could tell every single person I never want to do a media or a conference again. And I could probably just vlog it, you know, and we have access to that. So I think, those two girls to me are just very, very powerful. And yeah, that'd be amazing if you got it with any of them.
Can you imagine if Rihanna called me back? My God.
Yeah. You were like, oh, you're welcome. I'm like, actually, can I be on it too so I can meet her?
Okay, give me someone who might actually respond to a media request. Someone you know.
You know, I value Melissa Bishop. I don't know if you know of her, but she, to me, I've looked up to her since I've been little. She was somebody that pretty much was so, like, get out of my way, but she's so composed with everything that happened in 2016 to her, and then happening again this year. And this is her third Olympics. It was really, really exciting for me to be around her and just see. And she was our captain actually this year in Tokyo. So it was cool to see. And I remember sitting in my first Olympics, sitting next to her, and I was so nervous being named at the big city hall downtown. And I was like, is this what it's like? She goes, yeah. And she was like, but don't worry, like, it gets better. Like, this is just the beginning. And she just walked me through it. And she's a very inspirational. She's a mother now. And I think that's a whole other life that I want that. Like, I want my little girl or my little boy to come watch me compete. Like, that is so incredible to put your body through already a birth and then come back as one of the best athletes in the world. I mean, that's a whole other accomplishment in itself. So she would be great to talk to. And I actually haven't heard her talk into in-depth podcasts like this. So it'd be interesting to see that.
Okay, I'm on it. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that the decompress time is super important right now. So I appreciate you making some time for it.
No, I appreciate it. It actually sometimes reminds me that, you know, Alysha, you did do a lot. You know, you're okay. You can take some time. And so it reminds you. So it's nice sometimes. And you're so nice too and beautiful. So it's always like, that's easy.
It truly is inspirational. The way that you've come out of it was so much, like you said, you're an inspirational influencer. And I think that a lot of young women need to hear the things that you were saying. So congrats on all your accomplishments.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that.
And I would love to golf with you.
No, seriously, I really am enjoying it. Like, I really like it. And maybe I'll do it post-track. Like, after I'm retired from there, maybe I'll pick up a new sport and do that.
I could see it. Yeah. Okay. Well, it was a pleasure having coffee with you.
Yes.
And have a great day.
Starting my morning. I appreciate that.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Bye, girl.
Is there anything more inspiring than what Alysha Newman did there? She took what some may view as complete failure and turned it into a lifelong lesson about taking care of her body and her mind. She's got several projects and partnerships on the go, and I will direct you to her socials to keep up with her. By the way, she's also a fabulous entrepreneur. Her links are in the episode notes. My links are in the episode notes. And my next guest is quite the entrepreneur herself. But more on that in a few weeks. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service, maybe you do me a solid and do that right now.
I'm Allison Langer. I'm Zarina Fry.
I'm Andrea Askowitz, and we're the hosts of Writing Class Radio, the best writing podcast in the world.
In the world? How do you know? Have you listened to every single writing video?
You're going to fight with me now? You're going to fight with me now?
Writing Class Radio publishes true, amazing stories from writers like you, and you learn how to make your own writing better.
Listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Another Sound Off Media Company podcast.